Welcome to the Growth House Podcast. I am Jesse Ray, and I'm here with Justin. Justin, your last name has quite a few letters in it. So for everyone listening, and for myself, how do you pronounce that last name?
Roethlingshoefer.
Roethlingshoefer.
There you go. Nailed it.
Nailed it first time. That's amazing.
Just like that.
I love it, man. So Justin, I'm over here reading your bio. I'm like, you have a lot. You're an author. You're a speaker, co-founder of Own It Coaching. You've been on huge networks like Fox, ABC, TEDx, Muscle and Fitness. I could keep going. But for you, is there anything I did not say? And then also, if you were to describe yourself, who is Justin? What would you say?
I would say I'm a flawed individual that has just been willing to keep trying and keep getting up one more time.
I love that. And I actually read one of something about you. You said that you had a lot of success, being an author and a speaker, but you also rented out Lululemon's office space in New York City, their headquarters, and you planned this huge book launch, and not a single person showed up. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. So as I left the NHL, I spent just over a decade in the National Hockey League as the health and performance director, and really managing the health, wellness, performance of the best athletes in the world. And it was late 2020, obviously, and I'd left the NHL, and the COVID had kind of been getting into the last little bits here. And I had been writing a book for a while. And so I was like, you know what, this is going to be my launch pad. I've left the league, starting a business. This is going to be really what sets it and lets it go. And sent out all the invites, got RSVPs. Yes. Rented out Lululemon's headquarters, brought in a film crew, camera crew, photographer, videographer, had sponsors there. I'd probably invited 3 or 4 people that were just helping with setup and operations, had food all lined up. And we started at 7. 6:45 rolled around, 7 rolled around, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. Nobody showed up. Not a single person. Not even a token charity case. Nobody. Not even my wife. And the thing was, I had that a moment to choose what I was going to do, who I was going to be. And I said to the camera guy, I said, let's film it anyways. And so a lot of the pictures that I show in my keynotes that I do today, I pull up from that day and I tell this story, and I talk about how it looks like a guy's up there delivering a keynote to a full room that is exciting. It's cool. He's in a position of influence, when in actuality, I was delivering it to nobody. And the thing is that people hear my message and they're like, wow, this is such a powerful message. But I've been delivering this message to empty rooms and rooms of 2 and 3 people for decades before rooms of thousands have been able to hear it and see how it operates. And so that's just this component of continuing to keep getting back up, continuing to keep going. When you believe in your mission, you believe in your message, you know it's a calling, you know it's a gifting, you know it's something that you're anointed to do, you know it's something that you have to step into, you know it's not going to be easy, you know anything that you do has to be done in a different way, and you have to go to places that others aren't willing to in order to go where others can't.
So good, man. So let me ask you this. When you were in that position, you're like, all right, I got no one here. What was going through your head and why? Because you said, who am I going to be? Who's the man? Is he going to go up there and deliver this, even if it's an empty room? Beyond that, though, why do it?
Yeah, I think so. When I was standing up there and that moment, and as I started to see everything roll in, my stomach just started to drop. And I don't know, I had a funny feeling at 6:30 when there was nobody coming in, there was nobody rolling in, there was not even any doors just opening and closing, that I just had this energy that I don't think anybody's coming. It was just a bad feeling. And so yeah, my stomach was at the bottom of felt like it was at the bottom floor. I had tears in my eyes. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I felt like a failure in a lot of ways. And but there was never a doubt that I was going to follow through with this, because even leading up to that point, I had been hired for jobs in the NHL. I had been fired. I had been in my hockey playing career. I was born and raised in Canada, came down on a hockey scholarship, had been cut from teams, had been traded, had been told I wasn't good enough, wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't fast enough my entire life, and continue to prove everybody wrong just simply by doing the work, by simply just showing up and being intentional and being consistent, and just being the guy that knew what God's calling was for me, and I continued to lean into that. And so that practice of having that, when all of a sudden it came time to deliver something, when nobody showed up again, even though it hurt, it wasn't a doubt in my mind as to what I was going to do and where I was going to go and how I was going to show up. And so the story, part of the story I didn't say is, like, as I finished, I looked at the camera guy and I said, there will be a day where this room is full. And all he said was, "Okay, kid." And
No way.
he said, "Okay, kid," and then he waited and he goes, "Can we leave now?" And I said, "Yeah." And so yeah, so I found it very ironic, and it's kind of just been a full circle moment, especially this last year, where I've keynoted about 10 times to well, I mean, I've keynoted close to 90 times this year, especially with the book launch, but keynoted about 10 times to rooms that had somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people. And it just kind of comes to that full circle moment. And if anybody's out there listening to this and going, well, it's easy for Justin. He's always had it good. It's always been easy for him. He's got a message that's great. He speaks well. He's articulate. He's got just a way of with words. It wasn't always like that. It hasn't always been easy. I've had to do the same battles, go through the same things, go through the same denials, the same rejections that everybody else has. I'm not special. I'm not a special case. And I hate to say it, but neither are you. No, none of us are special cases. We all have to go through the same things. And the thing that makes us different is not how do we get to where we're going, but who did we have to become in order to step into those places.
So for your keynotes these days, what does that look like? Is that like a specific topic that you mostly talk about? I know there's
Yeah.
lots of different conferences and masterminds we've spoken in the past about different ones that you've been a part of. So what does that look like today?
Yeah, a lot of the messaging today talks about the power of ownership. So what does ownership mean specifically when it comes to your health and performance? Helping people realize that you are in fact the asset, and how do you change how you're living? How do you live a life by design? How do you live intentionally? How do you live consistently based around what it is that you're needing to do? Because once we create levels of awareness, there's certain things that we just can't go back on. And when we lean into that power of ownership and taking ownership for our health, ownership for our performance, ownership in how we show up, that's the moment that we start to realize what true living feels like. And so through a lot of stories, my keynotes are very interesting because they are a very unique integration and interaction, collaboration of education, entertainment, motivation, and practical application, where you all of a sudden leave there going, man, I have something tangible I can do. I feel like I can run through a brick wall, and I feel like I've just been called out and called up to something bigger. And that's really what my goal is in each of these, is to educate, empower, equip, and entertain. And at the end of the day, continually practicing that over and over and over again, and being in rooms of just tip of the spear people who want to get better, who want to grow, who want to seek something new. It's been really, really exciting and a lot of fun to put different and unique talks together for each unique audience, which is also something that I do that's a little bit different than most keynote people. Is they've got like a signature talk that they do, and so like, what's the talk that you give? And this is the topic and this is what it is, and no matter what the audience is, I might change a word or two based upon like, oh, I can resonate with that word based on the industry. I almost rewrite every keynote for every audience, simply because I want to get to know who is there. I want to get to know you. I want to understand Jesse Ray and the type of people like Jesse Ray sitting in the audience, the things that they've gone through, the season of life they're in, the stories that maybe they resonate with, the examples that they need to have come before them. And when you're able to do that and bring that in, it hits the soul so much heavier. It hits the heart so much harder. And that's
Mm.
where the real change happens, is at the soul and heart level.
Good. I love that. And you did mention before, the podcast that we are going to dive into some, tactical things, which before we go there, which our audience loves, you mentioned faith a lot. You mentioned God a lot. How much of that of an impact has that had on your business? And has that had always been like a big part of your life or up until recently?
Yeah, it's always been a part of my life. I grew up in to a set of parents that prayed for me before I was born.
Mm.
And as I came into this world, learned who Jesus was at a very young age. I came to know him literally as I was walking, and at 8, began to just went through my confirmation practices and the typical things that you go through. And then as a kid, who left home at 18 to play hockey, went on my own journey for a while, thinking that I knew better, that I could do it my own way. And still had a relationship with God, still loved Jesus, still had that foundation that was set. But at the same time, you almost see, I call that like my time frame where I used Jesus as a genie, where it was like,
Mm.
hey, like, just get me out of this problem. Hey, I didn't study for this test. Just give me the answers. It's like, it doesn't work that way. And so for about 8 years, it was life was tough. You struggled through some things. There's a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. I struggled with anorexia, struggled with a lot of body
Mm.
image dysmorphia. I got divorced over the course of that time. Struggled. I made the transition from playing hockey as a professional to stepping in and getting my master's degree and my doctorate. And at that same time, was just struggling with identity as to who I was, what I was doing. I'd gotten some surgeries and was struggling with some painkiller addictions and just different things that, like, over the course of this 8-year period, I'm just like, man, it was like a life, 2 or 3 people's lifetime condensed into this. And looking back, just seeing it as such a blessing, because it's what's allowed me to have so many stories and so many different repertoires that I can pull from that make me relatable to so many different people. And that's a time of my life that I was just grateful I was able to endure through, by the strength of God, that I was able to now utilize in my speaking and my book writing, that ultimately draws people in so that they can get involved in our business and really find their miracle, find their solution, find their transformation, find their personalized, individualized solution for what they've been seeking for so long. And it's just so beautiful to see how God works. And going back to your question of, like, is it something that I actively lean into today? I mean, yes, wholeheartedly. And the unique part when you think about how that divine world is set up is there's a certain order things have to happen in. And I think as men, especially men who are striving, men who are pushing the envelope, men who are leading other people, we get confused sometimes on our priorities and our order. Meaning, and I'll give a perfect example. I've known for a long time that what my calling is, what my mission is here on earth. It's to redeem the health of the world, by educating, equipping, and empowering people to take ownership of their health in a personalized way, and take the leading cause of death in the United States, which is chronic illness, at 71% to less than 50 by the year 2035. And
Mm.
so we know what our mission is. We know what we're doing every single day when we wake up.
Let me
And
ask you something right there, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out, right? And even when they're just graduating college, they're like, I don't know what my purpose, I don't know what my passion is. What's your advice for those people? Because you have it dialed in now, but was it always pretty much dialed in? Or how did it get to that point, and how do you help others maybe find that purpose or passion?
I mean, I always say that it was, we try to rush it. We have these workshops where it's, let's go find your purpose. Let's go figure out what it is that we need to actually do. Let's find out why I was put on this earth in 24 hours. It's a lifelong journey. It's something that's going to continue to iterate. And the biggest thing about this is that we can't force anything in this world. We can't force our way to an answer. We can't force our way to a solution. The solution is actually doing less and listening to what God's calling us and prompting us to. And so when I say this is at 12 years old, I just heard very loudly from God is that your mission is to redeem the health of the world. You will redeem the health of the world. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant. For me, I thought it was, I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to win a Nobel Prize. I'm going to do something amazing. Well, I became a strength coach in the National Hockey League, and I went through all of these experiences, and I wrote a book, and nobody came to the event. I went through depression. I went through addiction. I went through having I was told I wouldn't live past the age 35 with some of my precancerous diagnosis of polyps in my colon and ulcers in my stomach. Like all of these things I went through, all while having the education journey that I had, simply so that I could lean into where I am today. And that level of clarity only comes from obedience. And we try to often cut corners and get to something faster than actually sitting back and going, okay, what matters? What do I have to do? What do I have to focus on today? What is God asking me to do today? And as we continue to iterate on that, the clarity comes and the iterations come. Onet's on iteration probably 19 from when we started. We started 3 years ago. It's a God story, even as how this happened, where after the book was, nobody showed up.
This is the first book. No one showed up for the first book, correct?
No, well, that was book 3 that I had written.
Oh,
But
wow.
number 1 after I'd left the NHL. So the one that just came out, The Power of Ownership. This guy right here, The Power of Ownership. Yeah. This is number 5. And so, and this one, I mean, again, full cycle story is, this book launched, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but launched on April 23rd. And we're the number 77.
2 days ago.
So, yeah, 2 days ago. And today we're the number 77 book in the world.
Wow.
That's number 77 best-selling book in the world, in all categories across all platforms, which is pretty amazing. And so when you sit back and you think about, like, wow, a 4-year journey, nobody shows up for a book launch, and now you're number 77 in the world. It's like, that's a God thing. Only God can do that. But it only stems because you leaned into obedience. You leaned into what was being asked of you. Going back to how Own It started was, no one showed up for that book launch. We came back down to Florida, and I was just a bitter, frustrated person, because I didn't know, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, where am I supposed to go? I thought I had clarity, but now I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And my wife said, after about 2 months of just me moping and being frustrated and being upset and being angry, she said, you just need to go be with God in the kayak. And I said, I don't need to be with God in the kayak. I need to figure out what to do. And she goes, no, go sit with him in a kayak. And so I sat out there and I just asked, like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, make it clear, like, make it just so obvious. And I've been asking that question for so many times, but at this moment, I was like at the bottom of the barrel. Like, I was at a very low point. And I think God brings us to very low points, because it's only at that point that we realize we don't actually have the strength to do what's necessary. And that's when true humility shows up. And I still remember it was like a glass sheet that I saw in front of me with like a little bullet hole, and it had some light shining through it. And I leaned in, and it was like the whole glass shattered. And I had this download that I've never had before, this clarity. I picked up my phone. I just started typing. About 2.5 hours later, I went into the house and I printed off what I wrote. It was a 23-page manifesto on what Own It's vision was actually to look like. And so that's just how Own It was birthed, and what it actually looked like, how it stemmed, how it operated. And it was just so blessed in that whole process. But going back to what I was saying about the order, is we as human beings are called to have a divine order to how we show up in life. And it's God first, it's your family second, and you are a part of your family. It is your church third, it is your country fourth, and it is your business fifth. That is literally biblical, and we can talk through scriptures and how that goes. And there's moments in my life, just even this past weekend, where my wife and I went to a marriage retreat, and I don't think it was ironic that I had one of the greatest breakthroughs I've had recently in business at a marriage retreat, in terms of clarity, in terms of what I needed, in terms of messaging, all of these things. I don't think it was by accident that it happened at a marriage retreat when I had God first, my marriage and my family second, and my business actually took a far back seat, that all of a sudden breakthrough has happened and was blessed with that.
That's amazing. The priorities are right. And so God bless you there. I love that. So you have the coaching as well, right? What does that coaching look like?
Yeah, so within Own It, we are a full concierge, customized health and performance company, where you come in and we're going to help you navigate every aspect of what your health and performance looks like. So you're going to have a mindset coach, you're going to have a health coach. We're going to do all of your cellular blood diagnostics, so understanding what you're cellularly deficient in. We're going to do all your hormone paneling. We're going to do all of get you a wearable device and start tracking sleep and heart rate variability to understand how you're adapting to stress. And then we're going to custom curate solutions for you based upon this. So we're going to basically build your life by design. We're going to build your morning routines. We're going to build your night routines. We're going to build your travel frameworks. We're going to build your nutritional programming. We're going to build your workout programming. We're going to build your immune protocols. We're going to build your custom supplementation. Like, we are going to literally build everything out for you, so that you can operate and live intentionally and consistently to perform at the level in which you were created. And so it's only once we gain awareness to the things that we don't know is that we can start to grow. So many people think that it's just about being able to say, oh, I'm going to choose a growth mindset. Well, before growth comes awareness. And if you don't have the awareness as to who you need to become, growth actually never happens. It might happen for a moment, but then you regress to what's normal and what's comfortable. And until we have a system that allows us to constantly come back to awareness, constantly come back to this place of where we need to be, that's where we ultimately see the biggest growth and the largest sustainability of the onset.
Actually, talk to me about that awareness. Are we talking about awareness through what your body needs to have you function at the top level, become the best version of yourself? What does that mean, awareness?
So when we talk about awareness, let me back up. I have this quote. It says, communication is the hard work of leadership. And as leaders, we're constantly communicating with our teams. We're communicating with our employees. We're communicating with our partners. We're communicating with our spouses. We're communicating with with those people we serve. We invest millions of dollars into becoming better leaders and better communicators to those people. But we fail to realize that we are actually the asset. You, Jesse, are the asset. And you have failed to understand what your body's communicating to you. And so understanding how your body's communicating through things like heart rate variability, through things like cellular deficiencies, through things like sleep quality, through things like symptoms that you're experiencing. This is the way our body communicates. This is how this asset, the most important thing that we have, is communicating to us. But because we've been operating in this space of not knowing what we don't know, we just consider what we're doing today as normal.
Yeah.
Without realizing that normal is actually dysfunctional. And dysfunctional over the course of time creates breakdown. And so that is what we aim to prevent. That is what we aim to do, is expose to you what you don't know. And we time collapse that so that you don't have to experience it yourself. You don't have to go and figure it out yourself. You don't have to go and try to just get all the gadgets and gizmos, get the wearable devices, do the blood test, do all these things and try to piecemeal this thing together, because you're going to make errors. Because you have to realize, again, I'll go back to this. You're the asset, not the expert. You're the asset, not the expert. And so when you realize you're the asset, You realize that you get to go out and get the expert to time collapse it. You're worthy of having the coach that has those set of eyes that can help guide you to ultimately time collapse what's going on, so you can have the results that you desire in an expeditious way, and you don't have to wait as long as others would have to. You don't have to go through the trials. You don't have to go through the tribulations. That was my road. That's what I had to go through, so I could realize my calling, so I could step in and help somebody else. And these are the things that I think, especially in the entrepreneurial world, the leadership world, those that serve other people, they think they have to be the expert at everything. They think they have to go and burn the candle at both ends. They think they have to go and sacrifice their health in order to accomplish their mission. None of those things are true. And it's only when you gain the awareness that your body is communicating something different that you can now figure out, okay, who do I have to become and who do I want to be? And the people that I've found to be the most successful are those ones that say, hey, I want to be humble enough to go and get the help that I need so that I can gain the wisdom for what I can ultimately do next.
So good. So true, because so many entrepreneurs, all we think about, our priorities are usually jacked up, right? We put relationships to the side, we put our health and fitness to the side. And then once we, have a sustainable amount of money where we feel like, okay, we're past that survival stage, now let's look at the other aspects of our life that we've missed. And for some, it takes, years. And so for I guess a lot of people, and maybe what are some like tactical things that they can start doing like right away? Maybe they don't have the funds to hire a coach, or maybe put that in a different perspective of why money is really not, an excuse or objection to go hire someone like you or be a part of a program that can actually help them get to that top performance that they need to be as an entrepreneur.
So it's a really great question. And the first thing I'm going to say, and it comes back to this is people always want to know the how. I've been on shows like this hundreds of times over the last couple of years. Justin, what's your best tactic? Justin, what's the best way to do this? And you go on Instagram and you're going to see all this clickbait of, this is the best thing you can do for your sleep. This is the best thing you can do for your workouts. This is the best thing you can do for stress management. This is the best thing you can do for health optimization. Well, they actually don't know, because they don't know you. You're an individual. You're unique. You have unique stressors. You have unique, your bodies you created uniquely. You have unique priorities. And so we need to realize we have to stop solving unique problems with generalized solutions. That's why we wind up in the same problem. We wind up in the same space. And until you have a desire for awareness at a level that makes you take action differently, you're going to stay exactly where you are. And so coming back to this and like expanding on this is like, where should somebody start? Is number one, like, when it comes to health and performance, my book, The Power of Ownership, it was a God download. It was something that allows people to go and pay $25 and grab a book and open up some of this awareness to what they didn't know they didn't know. And all of a sudden, for the first time, go, man, I didn't know that. Man, I didn't realize that. Man, I've never thought about that. And when you now open that up, you've now unlocked a new version of you. Like, you have to realize that. You've now elevated and you've now grown yourself to now make another choice. Is what's my next choice? Am I going to engage and I'm going to go and get the coach that can help me time collapse this? Am I going to go and take the next step in maybe just having a conversation? Or am I going to go and get my wearable? Or am I going to go and get my cellular testing to find more information so that I can slowly start iterating into this and move forward? So the first thing I would say is go grab the book, get the book, The Power of Ownership, because at that point, that is when you're going to start to be able to lean in. Number two, get a wearable device, start tracking heart rate variability. Heart rate variability at its core is the language of how our body is adapting to stress and strain. Our body doesn't know the difference, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress. And so knowing that it doesn't know that, we are constantly under different stressors that are filling up our cup. And our cup gets so overflowed that it creates symptoms, which ultimately leads us to some level of health breakdown along the way. And so HRV is that number that gives us the awareness to, hey, maybe what I'm doing is out of balance, is out of rhythm. And again, if you want to do it yourself, great, step in, go get a Whoop band, go get an Oura ring, go start there. Or you can do that and come along with your coaching team and figure out how can we expedite this process? How can we figure this out in a little bit of a deeper, more steep way? And so these are the things that like we talk about, and we bring all of this together in our coaching. And people are like, oh, well, there's no way I can afford that. Man, if you can't afford a couple $100 to invest in you, the asset, then I would argue that you probably aren't fit to be leading others. Because people have sat and asked me, so Justin, so like, what has been your greatest investment? And I said, my greatest investment every single year for the last 6 years, the thing I've invested the most money in every single year is coaching. I have seven active coaches today. I have a relationships coach. I have a business coach. I have a speaking coach. I have a piano coach because I want to learn the piano. Like these are all things. I have a health coach. I hire my own team members to coach me in my own health, to keep me accountable to certain things. These are the things that I have a finances coach. Like I have all of these coaches that are helping to guide me because I know that I'm the asset, not the expert. And if I'm able to become somebody new, that's why my growth over the last 5 years has been exponential. I look at the guy 5 years ago and I don't recognize him. I don't recognize his life. I don't recognize his mindset. I don't recognize his health. I don't recognize his energy. I don't recognize his relationships. I don't recognize his environment. This does not happen by accident. And a lot of us think that just by showing up and listening to a podcast or reading a book or going to an event, that it's going to radically all of a sudden change. No, those things are part of the process, but you have to decide that you're going to take action and be the player, the person that gets into the arena, the person that gets into the room, the person that puts the shoes on and says, I want to be the player who wants to be the one that is going to take ownership of this. I don't want to be the journalist that's critiquing everybody anymore. I don't want to be the fan that's just being entertained anymore. I want to be the player, and the player gets involved. The player takes the step. The player takes the extra move to ultimately get the outcomes that they're desiring, because you have to, again, realize to go where others can't, you have to do what others won't. And if you fail to have a desire for awareness, then you will stay exactly where you are.
Could leave a mic drop right there, man. Love that. Agree so much, especially with the coaching. Like all the aspects of my life that I'm serious about leveling up, I've hired a coach for that. So totally on the same page there. And there's so many people that, like you said, they think the book, the podcast, and then go try it yourself. Sure, but you're going to go through a bunch of struggle. Why not learn from someone else who's already doing it? You're paying for time. You're paying to not have to go through all the time that someone else did. 100% agree with you, man. Let me ask you this. Obviously, one of a close friend of mine and yours, David Carpenter, and a fan favorite of the podcast. We don't necessarily have to, talk about his journey, but other people, other clients that you've had, what's been like the biggest aha moments or the biggest thing that you see consistently from your coaching to then seeing a result for those clients?
Yeah. You know what? We'll talk about David. Everyone here knows David. Obviously, we're both friends. David's a client of ours, but also has become a good friend. And I think David's a great example because David tried to do it on his own for a long time. And he tried to figure it out. He tried to do all the things. He tried to be the influencer. He tried to be the leader. He tried to live a life a certain way. He tried to fit in. But I talk about this a lot, and you've heard me say this, is who do you want to become? And until David realized that he wanted to become somebody who was an actual leader, he wanted to live the life of an actual leader. And in order to do that, he had to become somebody different. He had to change the way he was operating. He had to change the way he was acting. He had to change the way he was believing in who he was. And it was at that moment that he started to embody the different things. And it wasn't until he had the awareness. And the awareness came from all of a sudden looking at numbers through HRV. It came from looking at numbers from his cellular testing that he got back. It came from sitting with our coaching team and exposing a lot of the habits, the behaviors, the tendencies, the thought processes, that all of a sudden he goes, man, this is not who I want to be. This is not going to get me to where I want to go. And you look at David, man, we've been working with David for just about a year.
That man has been consistent.
And here's the thing. It's not consistent, and David will be the first to attest to this. David has not been consistent because he's a consistent person. David has not been consistent because he's a super disciplined person. David's been consistent because he's built phenomenal systems. He's over at my house every single day, training with the group because we hold him accountable. He's gotten the chef. We set him up with a chef that cooks the food so that he's able to get there. You can't afford a chef? Get a home delivery system. You don't have a home delivery system? Get your groceries delivered. Like, eliminate the obstacles. The moment you eliminate the obstacles is when you can build a system that thrives. And David has done that. David has built the systems that allows him to thrive. You look at David today, David is not the same man that I met a year ago. David is down 40 pounds. David has more energy than he's ever had before. When I met David, David was on all the TRT, all the peptides, all the things everybody else was doing. David's not on any of those anymore. David feels better than he ever has. David's body is able to do more and have a greater capacity to lead at the level that he needs. And his wisdom is so great because he invested and chose to be the player. He chose to get in the arena. He chose to get the coach that guides him. If Ed Milet needs coaches, I'm sure you need coaches. If Tom Brady needs coaches, I'm sure you need coaches. Like, these are the things that we have to humble ourselves. And so often we've got such egos about what we know, and we're so tied up. If I was to break down, I call this the wisdom graph. If I was to break this down, there's 10% of this graph that is made up of what you know, and what you don't know. The other 90% is made up of what you don't know. And the most intelligent, the most successful people that I've ever been around, the people that have succeeded in coaching, they're seeking the 90% of what they don't know. How can I gain awareness to what I don't know, so it can become something that I now know I know? So I can live differently. I can have different habits. I can have different behaviors. I can have different actions, because we know our habits and our behaviors that we have today are simply a vote for who we want to become tomorrow. And our habits and behaviors shape the person that we become. And if that's not if who you're becoming is not heavily aligned with where you're wanting to go, then don't be surprised then when inevitably your results show up.
100%. You mentioned habits, behaviors, systems, all these things. Another thing that I've seen a lot of people, even myself, is not necessarily just the environment, but your association and how big of a role that plays in someone's life. Our motto for Growth House is you become who you surround yourself with. So we're making sure we're surrounding ourselves with people that we're striving to be, not to be exactly like, but someone who, accomplished something that we're trying to accomplish. For you, maybe it's fitness and, mindfulness. So I guess for a question that I have is, how important is association that you've seen for your clients or even for yourself?
I mean, you've heard it. You become the average of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And the thing about this is, it's not because of what those people are. It's because of what you become aware to.
Break that down.
It's not because of who those people are. It's because of what you've become aware to. So if you're hanging around people who have thriving businesses, have amazing marriages, have great health, have financial freedom, they know something that you don't know. So you've suddenly become aware to something new, which helps you become somebody better. And so, I need people to understand this concept. I'm going to break it down again because it's a little bit heavy, because so many people just, again, they throw out these one-liners of, You become the average of the sum of the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Like, I don't want to hear that anymore, because people think, oh, now I just need to go be around really successful people and I'll become successful. No, that's not it. You're missing the point. That's where networking has just broken this whole system. What happens when you surround yourself with people who have found success in an area? The only reason they found success in an area is because they've become aware of something that you don't know. And so whenever I see somebody who has something that I aspire to, or has a characteristic of something that I desire, or is able to experience something that I truly feel like I'm called to, I don't say, how did that person get that? I say, who did that person have to become in order to get there? What system did they develop so that they were able to accomplish that thing? Because when you get around people and you get into a room, there's knowledge and wisdom there that I want to soak up. There's things that I need to know that I currently don't know, so that I can become aware to ultimately become somebody new, so that now I can develop a system that over the time will get me to where you are. That's the process. That is literally the process. Gain awareness. Who do you have to become in order to step into those shoes? Build a system around it that's personalized and catered to where you are, the season of life you're in, and the desires that you have. That's how we get there. And what I just walked you through is what we do for people in health, mindset, and performance, is helping them become aware to what they don't know, help them realize who they have to become, and then ultimately create the systems that are personalized and built around what they need, and using data to help drive this, personal data to help drive this. So it validates what we're doing, or it helps direct us in a new direction. And that's the power of gaining wisdom and knowledge. So you no longer are spinning your wheels. You're no longer like, why can't I get the energy? Why can't I sleep well? Why do I have brain fog? Why do I need a nap in the middle of the afternoon? Why don't I have the capacity to do what I used to be able to do 5-10 years ago? Mm-hmm. We don't need to live in this world, but the world has told us that's normal.
So true. As we wrap up, you mentioned relationships a couple times. You said you were in a relationship, got married, ended up getting divorced, and now you got married again, correct?
Yes.
So as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that we as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, we put to the side. Relationships is definitely one of them. It's been one for me. I'm like, well, I got time. I'm not interested right now. I'm just focused all in on my business, right? So mindset that I probably shouldn't have, and I'm working on it. But for someone that has seen the relationship, it didn't work, and then now you're like, no, I found the one, you got married again. 2 questions. One, there's a lot of people out there like, I've seen marriages not work, so I'm not even going to try. 2, what was that story? How'd you meet your now wife, and what's that journey been like?
So I'll answer number 2 first. Again, remember, I come back to is God's going to put you in the exact place at the exact time, at the exact moment that you need to be. And I'll start with this: is stress is not a fruit of the spirit. So many people I see stressing over their business, stressing over their relationships. Stress is not a fruit of the spirit. When you're acting in God's will, things happen with ease. It doesn't mean you don't take action. It just means you act in obedience. And so many of us are acting ahead of our skis, which is where stress comes from, which is why we get frustrated. And so for me, I had gotten divorced in June of 2015. And in July, I was hosting an NHL camp down in Naples. And my wife just happened to bought the house sight unseen. I'd never been to Naples, Florida before. I had never even been there. Just knew there was a hockey rink that was able to host us, that was near great golf courses, great beaches. The guys were happy about it. I was like, awesome. I hired a realtor. They bought the house. Had never seen it. Flew from Anaheim out there for the first time. And lo and behold, my neighbors were my wife's in-laws. And my wife was hosting a bachelorette party in July and we met at the pool. So that's how that whole thing happened. She was in New York City. I was in Anaheim, opposite ends of the country. Couldn't have really gotten further apart. And we ended up meeting in Naples, Florida.
That's amazing. And then did the long distance thing for a little while?
Long distancing for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. It was challenging. It was hard. It was something that was really great for our relationship because remember I said at the beginning, communication is the hard work of leadership. Communication is also the hard work of relationships. And it caused us just to be excellent communicators with one another because that's all we had. And so for the first 2.5 years of our relationship, that was, I think, setting the primary foundation for how we were able to operate.
Was there like a moment that you remember you're like, this is going to be my wife?
Crazy part, 7 seconds after I met her.
Really?
Yeah, it was immediate. God said, there's your wife. And I jumped out. I said hello. And I just knew at that moment, like, this is it. And going back to like the patience part and the obedience part is Elise said like she was not going to get married. She was not the marrying type. She was a career-driven woman. She was the executive vice president of Christian Louboutin. This is all she wanted to do was climb the corporate ladder, and just she felt that if she got married, she'd have to give her identity away. And so she's like, this is not me. And I'm gonna, if you want to hang around for 5+ years and let me figure out if this is something I want to do, then you let me know. And I just said, you let me know when you're ready. I'll be here. And lo and behold, about 5.5 years later, I proposed. And then a year after that, we got married.
That's amazing. I love that story. So as we wrap up, Growth House, we're a community of go-givers. So we want to figure out how to provide you value. And also, if anyone reaches out, they're not going to say, can I pick your brain? We don't do that. So if they do, let me know. So for you, I know one thing that would provide a lot of value and also would help the people in our audience is go get your book. Want to hold it up one more time? And,
yeah, absolutely.
Amazon, probably the best way. What's the best way to get it?
Yeah, Amazon's the best way to get this. The Power of Ownership. You can just search into Amazon. It'll come right up. Or you can go to thepowerofownershipbook.com. So both places.
Amazing. And then anything else that someone's going to reach out to you, which I'll ask you, how do people reach out to you? What kind of value can they provide besides saying, hey, maybe I just got your book and started reading it, love it. What else?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, if there was something I said today that resonated with you, that you've been maybe sitting back and you go, I've got so much potential sitting inside, and I know that I'm my worst enemy. I know that you exposed to me today, and you helped me realize that I am the asset, and that I am somebody that I need to invest in myself, and that I need to go about this a different way. I would encourage you to reach out. You can go to ownitcoaching.com and explore more about what we do and reach out to us there. Or you can message me on Instagram at Justin Roth, Justin Roeth. But that's the biggest thing is like, how can you help me? Help me fulfill my purpose. Help me fulfill what it is that I'm trying to do in this world, which is reach those people who are trying to influence others, who are leading others, so that I can help you do it better, so that I can help you have capacity to unlock what it is that's already prepared and already created inside of you, what's already active inside of you, but just is dormant. It's sleeping because we need to wake you up. We need to get your body operating at the level in which it needs so that you can ultimately do what it was that you were created to do. Realize that you are not the expert, but you are the asset. And the moment that you become aware to this is the moment you can change. You can either be the fan who sits on the sidelines and goes, I love this podcast. I'm going to get all the freebies and just be around and be the cheerleader. You can be the journalist who's going to critique everything and write all the notes down and say, hey, I really like this. I didn't really like this. Hey, you know what? You should go listen to this. Or you're going to be the player. You're going to be the person that picks up the book. You're going to be the person that reaches out and says, hey, you know what? I want to dive into a little bit of what you got going on because it resonated heavily with me. And I want to be the person in the arena. I want to be the person that changes. I want to time collapse a lot of this stuff so that I can realize a life that is different. I can realize the results that are different. I can be the next David Carpenter who went from who he was to who he is and is continuing to become, because this is a constant journey of growth and evolution. And as you get comfortable in the tension, as you get comfortable learning, as you get comfortable realizing that there's more that you don't know, and by only having the set of eyes to say, hey, this is where we need to go, this is what we need to do, you gain awareness to figure out who you need to become so you can build the system that allows you to go do what you do best.
Man, Growth House family, be the player. Follow my guy, Justin Roth. I appreciate you, brother. I know David's been saying, hey, when you coming out to Miami? So we definitely got to make that happen. And maybe I can sneak into one of your sessions in the morning.
I love it. I can't wait to see you. Love to host you.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Jesse.